Loki's great and all, but Sylvie, she's definitely the better Loki. I mean, she can use enchantments to tap into people's memories. Now that's a no-brainer. And if she's grown on you as much as she's grown on us, you're gonna have fun making this headpiece or crown. Going through the basics of making any cosplay, we're gonna show you how to make this awesome crown, so let's get crackin'. Before we get started, you're gonna need some supplies, and you can pretty much use these for any cosplay you're working on. 1mm EVA foam, 5mm EVA foam, an X-Acto knife, barge cement glue, a Dremel, sand block, Foamo, heat gun or hair dryer, black plasti dip, parchment paper, gold metallic acrylic paint, black acrylic paint, paint brushes, and Pledge floor cleaner. Now that you have all your supplies, the first thing you have to do is find a template. Or if you can't find one, you'll have to make one yourself. I collected a bunch of angles of the crown and made my own. The second step is cutting out your template. Tape bits of it to a 1mm EVA foam. Using a pen, trace it out. Take an X-Acto knife and cut out all of your pieces. I like to give depth to my cosplays with layering foam, so I did that for the center detail. You can skip this and just do one piece if you want. For the horns, remember that you'll need 4 halves. To give it the right curve, each will have little notches that need to be cut. Next is sanding. To be precise, I use a Dremel, but you can use a sand block with a low grit like 1000. Sand each piece to get rid of any excess foam and to round your edges. To do this, run the Dremel or sand block at an angle along the edges. Next, we'll have to glue the pieces together. I like to use a little piece of foam to apply the barge cement glue. Put a thin layer of glue on the piece itself and where it'll be sticking to. Use a hairdryer or a heat gun to semi-dry the glue. Then, attach your pieces. But be careful, once it's together, you won't be able to pull it off to reposition it. Before gluing the horns, take a hairdryer or heat gun and heat up the foam. Bend the crown to how it would fit on your head. Once it cools, it should have the general shape. It'll probably be a little flimsy still, but don't worry. I usually repeat this at various stages before prepping it to paint. The horns each have a ring detail at the bottom of them, so I cut a 3¼ inch long and 1/8 of an inch wide strip of 1mm EVA foam. You may need to adjust the measurements though for your horns. For the broken horn, take an X-Acto knife and make a faint cut around it. Once you're satisfied with how the edges will look, cut it out. Again, take the Dremel or sand block and round out your edges. We're going to be adding Foamo for the broken horn. To give it some place to sit, cut a circle out of the 5mm EVA foam to fit near the top of the broken horn. Then, glue it with the barge cement glue. Foamo is easier to shape when it's wet, so dab some water in the broken horn. Then, apply the Foamo and mold it however you'd like the broken horn to look. As well as being great to make custom foam pieces out of, Foamo is also great at covering seams. It's optional, but I covered up my seams as best as I could. It takes about 12 hours for the Foamo to dry. Once it's done, take a Dremel or sand block to smooth out the Foamo so that it sits flush with the rest of it. To prep the crown for painting, we'll need to plasti dip it. Plasti dip helps harden the foam so that the paint doesn't get absorbed into it. It basically gives it a base coat. I used black plasti dip because the crown is metal and I wanted it to look a little worn. I put on 2 coats of it just in case I missed any spots the first time around. It'll take about half an hour to dry. After that, it's time to paint. take a soft tip paintbrush and apply 2 coats of gold metallic acrylic paint. Usually for pieces that bend, you want to use acrylic paint over the spray paint to prevent cracking. Plus, I feel like you have more control with the look of it using acrylic paint, especially when adding effects like wear and tear and blood. Once the 2 coats are dried, add some wear and tear to the broken horn. Usually, I add it to all the crevices, but I felt like this looked worn enough on its own. If you want a more detailed explanation on how to add wear and tear, check out our wear and tear how-to. To seal the paint, take some Pledge floor cleaner and apply 1 light layer to the entire crown. Sometimes, too much floor cleaner could produce bubbles, so make sure you brush them away so that they don't dry on. And once it's dry, you have your very own Sylvie crown! After making this crown, I definitely want to tackle the rest of her outfit because it's so badass! But if this video helped with your cosplay, please be sure to give us a like, and if you want to learn more on how to make cosplays, be sure to check out our how-to hub and subscribe. Your next project might be right here. Well, I gotta get back to looking over Jess's crown, so I'll catch you guys later.